It's time for today's travel and cruise industry news. With the latest from travel and cruises around the world, here's your host, Chillie Falls.
Hey, good morning and welcome to Monday's Travel and Cruise Industry News Podcast. On this, the 7th day of September 2024, coming to you from a rather chilly, interesting use of words, Bedford County, Virginia. It was about 45 when I got up this morning. It's going to get warmer during the day, but 40s and 50s at night, it's, seasonal. I don't like it, but not much I can do about it. All right, first of all, this morning, before we get to all the business at hand, special thanks goes out to all of you guys for the birthday greetings. I appreciate it. I am another year older. I start my 76th year today. So at any rate, thank you for that. I will try, I've responded to some, but I will try to respond to all of you guys before the day's over with today. So just so you know, I've seen them. I appreciate it. I have not had a chance to reply yet. So we'll do some catching up later on. Excuse for the cough. All right, catching you up on my health issues. I'm feeling pretty good. I didn't feel that great all weekend. After I had a couple really good days, and I had a couple really crappy days. I don't have my energy level up, so I still got the after effects of this. My coughing is better, not as deep, not as painful. And I'm hoping that, I know this is going to sound weird, that the cough maybe now have switched over from being, instead of being from the double pneumonia, is from the breathing treatments. The breathing treatments have always made me cough. So now you couple the two together, I'm not sure what's generating the cough. But I'm not ready to go out and jump through hoops yet. There's no doubt about that. Making the call to cancel the cruises with Tom was the right call. To have traveled last week and met him in Boston, or met him in Richmond. We're going to take the train to Boston. And then getting on the gym, I would have been miserable at least until today. And so, no. And who knows, that could have made it a lot worse. I do have to bring everybody up to date on another bit of personal news in the saga of Chile. My brother-in-law was gone for the weekend. Like the three of us that are working to take care of my sister, you got to get away. I get away by going on cruises. Amanda gets away by going to her art studio and working on paintings or working on writing or doing something like that. And then she's gone a couple of weekends away with her friends down to the beach. Nothing wrong with that. She needs to get away too. When you're dealing with somebody with dementia, it's not easy. Well, about 5:15, 5:30 yesterday morning, thankfully I was up and working. Now, I was sitting over in my chair. I wasn't back here behind the desk, but I had my computer, and I was checking to see if there was anything that made me do a show yesterday. And I heard a crash. Now, quite frankly, I thought the two cats did something. So I put the computer down. I got up. I've been using a wheelchair in the house because I've had so much trouble walking and breathing at all, where I've been able to walk like to the dining room table. I've been able to walk to the bathroom, been able to walk into the kitchen. Yeah, with oxygen. But I couldn't even do that the last week or so. So I've been using a manual wheelchair in the house some. I got up, got in the manual wheelchair, turned my oxygen on and had my portable unit strung on the back of the chair and put the oxygen on and went to see what the hell the cats had done. Well, it wasn't the cats. My sister had gotten up and fallen. She was not with her, did not have her walker. She did not have a light on. She did not have her emergency call button. Of course, we also have a walkie-talkie in her room. None of those things did she remember to do, and she fell. Now, by the time I found her and got to her room, which was admittedly only a couple minutes from, when she actually fell, I could tell she was in pain. I could tell at least she had a broken wrist. That was obvious by looking. And I knew, of course, I couldn't get down and move her. But I knew, I found the emergency call button and called Amanda and called on to her on the walkie-talkie. And by the time both was done, she was on her way down the stairs. Of course, we called 911. We knew Jean had to see somebody, and that was the quickest thing to do. So the EMTs came. They got her up and on the bed thing that they use, put her in the ambulance. Amanda got dressed and followed the ambulance to the hospital. Of course, I stayed home to man the phones. I didn't need to be in the hospital, for that. So thankfully, we dodged a bullet. They did a CT scan. There was no head or neck injuries, no back injuries, no hip injuries, but she did have a broken wrist. So she was in the hospital. She got home in the afternoon, and then quite frankly, she was, they put her on morphine, so she was really in la-la land. I don't know if she even got awake by last night or not, because by then, I was back in the cave here and I was in bed. So anyway, she's home. That last night, then we had to get together once Mr. Jean got home and sort out what to do until we can get our help in today. Obviously, the hospice folks, we're going to get them to put some rails on her bed. She doesn't have a hospital bed because they still sleep together. But they'll put rails on her beds to keep her from getting out of the bed. Of course, once Mr. Jean was back home, he's in the room with her. So, would him being home have avoided this? Probably not, because he would have been asleep and she would have still gotten up in the dark and fallen. So I don't blame him at all. Don't get that wrong. It's not Jean's fault. That's my sister's fault. It's the dementia's fault. And I'll tell you, folks, and I hate to put it in this way, dementia is a bitch. There's just no other way of putting it. Okay, enough of that. We'll see how things go today. Anyway, welcome to Monday's Travel and Cruise Industry News Podcast. We got a whole bunch of stories today. We got a special guest this morning, a really full show. I got a whole bunch of stuff from a bunch of people, especially Hot Air Tom. The lead news story this morning, Gulf Coast braces for Francine. Also today, speculation on Icon's next Homeport. Joy's itinerary change on a repositioning cruise. Carnival has a new multi-device internet package. A Carnival guest celebrates 103rd birthday. Free drinks on Fred.Olsen Cruises. Carnival with more itinerary changes. Johnny Walker Master Blending Experience and lots more today here at 11 o'clock this morning. Busy show this morning. Today is National Care Bears Share Your Care Day. and it's celebrated annually on September 9th. So it's National Care Bears Share Your Care Day. Okay? Care Bears are on a mission to spread caring and sharing around the world and encourage fans to spread caring, sharing, love, friendship, acceptance, fun, and happiness to those you love every day. Awesome day, folks. No food, no beverage today. Just spread a little caring and sharing to anyone. All right. If you're listening via the podcast, you can always access this via my blog, which is accessadventure.net, or wherever you get your podcast from. Just search for Travel and Cruise Industry News, and up pops the Fat Travel Guy. If you're listening via the podcast, you can always access the video feed by going to the link in the podcast, and it will allow you to do just that. Back for another time here. My special guest today is Nate Vallier of Alaska. My friend, my partner, my inspiration, almost everything. With no further ado, welcome back, Nate, to the Travel and Cruise Industry News podcast.
Yeah, good morning.
Okay, so on our website, on the Alaska Travel Desk website, we have a couple things. One, we have a section on cruises that you're taking and hosting, and cruises that I'm taking and hosting. If anybody wants to jump in and join us, whether they're solo or they're double occupancy, doesn't matter. We'll work it out. We also have a section for solo travel, and a lot of it's heavily weighted, at least what's posted currently, is MSC solo deals, which are excellent.
Yeah.
So let me just throw it out to you and see what you think about MSC and what we can do to get them more business.
Well, MSC is a outlier when it comes to solos because they actually limit the number of solo guest ownership. A lot of cruise lines right now are going opposite direction where they're actually increasing the cost. Like we're seeing with Royal Caribbean and Celebrity, which really love Celebrity, but the fact that they're now charging upwards of 250%, if not even 300%, if you're a solo traveler. And the reason they're doing that is when there's two people in a cabin, you got two people that will do dining, spa, internet. And so they're losing essentially that 80, I think it's like 85 a day is their target, from that. So some cruise lines are going the opposite direction of what Norwegian found out, with Epic, which is that there is a growing market of solo travelers. There's people who either don't want to travel with their spouse or don't have a spouse anymore. Me personally, I don't like sharing a bed, even when I have a spouse half the time. But the direction MSC is heading now is they're trying to make it more open. And so we found some pretty good deals both for Europe and the Caribbean for solo travelers. And the pricing is actually pretty decent. I was really surprised to see some of the European sailings, Mediterranean sailings come down to actually fairly affordable levels. I'm looking at like the Lyrica in out of Rome, this winter, and some of these sailings are actually fairly affordable at $700 a person, including all in, which we normally haven't seen before. And I think that MSC, the whole drive into America, which was caused from COVID, because before COVID, MSC America never needed Americans on their ship. It was full of Europeans. And during COVID, when we had the entry requirements and restrictions, MSC is like, hey, we've got a lot of empty ships. Let's fill them up with Americans and Canadians. And I think that now that they have a good team of people in Fort Lauderdale, communicating more with the folks in Switzerland, I think we're going to see more of this. We're going to see more solo type cabins on their ship and better solo rates, which is kind of what we've been seeing.
Yeah. I've cherry picked several that I promoted on this show. One was the solo the other day on Magnifica that was, what was $200 or something for.
Yep. Yeah.
It's just a ridiculously low price. And then the drinks package was like $250, which is, that's pretty stout deal. So I've used a couple things. I did one on Seashore and I used one on Magnifica. And then, of course, I'm promoting one for Grandiosa when Grandiosa finally comes here in 2026. So we got a lot of time in between that we need to fill in with both of us sailing on MS.
Yeah, and like I said, the one I'm doing on the 16th, which I know is just a week away, that's a pretty good deal, though. And the fact that we overnight in Ocean Key doesn't look like any hurricanes are coming. So, I'm kind of, and that's the reason why these cruises we're finding are so cheap in the Caribbean, is people are, especially after Hurricane Dorian 5 years ago, which wiped out a good chunk of the Bahamas, people don't really want to, be on a ship in a storm. And, back to MSC, they're a different product, and I warn my clients about that. You're not going to get stellar, amazing, friendly people on board. You're going to get good service. The food's going to be all right. You're just going to have a lot more nationalities on board, so it's not going to be like a nonstop booze fest, fun fest like we see on Carnival. They do not do solo events like Norwegian does. No one does, actually. And the ships are a little nicer. In my opinion, I like all the activities that they have. I like some of the pools, and entertainment's not too bad. They lack when it comes to specialty dining. And, to be honest, I fell in love with a lot of tacos. I'm Meraviglia, so I was happy to see that coming up on Seashore, in 2 weeks. But it's just more of a matter of, how well people know the brand, and if they don't know it, then they need to talk to people like us who read the blogs. But the problem with MSC is they get a lot of bad marks from people who are used to something else. They get bad marks from, and I don't want to call them hoity-toity travelers, but the expectations are just not the same. And I've tolerated it. My sailing on Meraviglia was nowhere near my top 10, and it wasn't my bottom 10, but that cabin was huge. My steward was great. The big bathroom, and I was in a standard balcony. They didn't charge me an arm and a leg for an aft-facing cabin. And my challenges on that ship were no ketchup, which I thought was weird. They did provisioning in Florida, which is why Meraviglia stops in Florida. Wi-Fi was okay. The people were good, but, not having ketchup was just weird because, when you're craving something like a hot dog or a hamburger, or even chicken tenders, just they would have a mustard, mayo, and relish, and then no ketchup. And so I believe they fixed that. But
I think that was
people
weird. Well, my biggest thing that I had with MSC when I started with them was everybody was complaining about the food, and I don't think I've ever had a bad meal on it. What have I done? 11 MSC cruises now. Maybe it's not a top meal that I've ever had. And it might be a little more European in nature, but I've been perfectly satisfied with MSC Cruises.
And it goes all back to expectation. And I can't believe I'm saying this on a broadcast with you, but what do you expect for $200 for 5 days?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say MSC is the best, but they have essentially replaced Norwegian when it comes to short haul cruises out of Florida. You can't get an affordable cruise anymore to the Bahamas. It's either Margaritaville, and that's questionable. You got MSC now. Royal Caribbean's adding in the bigger ships, but the pricing is awful. I would love to go on Allure and some of these others. They're doing a lot of these new short haul trips like out of Port Canaveral and Jacksonville, but my God, the cost. If you're a solo traveler, forget it. But people, like I said, people have legit complaints about MSC. I've read and watched a lot of the blogs, and I've had it myself. But I just had a family 4 out of here in Juneau, and I sent them on a Caribbean cruise on, I think it was Seaside, And I got them an aft-facing suite for them and their kids, and it was amazing. They loved every second of it, and they've done Royal Caribbean and Carnival, and they said, we will go back to MSC, no problem. And yet someone else who had been on MSC in the Caribbean or Mediterranean had a completely different situation. And, they posted on their Facebook, these comments. So I think a lot of it just has to go back to the fact that the cruise industry is changing. Everyone is kind of taking a couple notches down. We don't get towel animals anymore. I was surprised Carnival's still doing it. A friend just posted pictures on Celebration. And now they're even going to be cutting back steward service to once a day on a handful of cruise lines. It's either going to be morning or evening. So I think that, the days of wining and dining and, lobster on every sailing, I think those are gone. And MSC at least is coming in with, and not promising you everything, but I think that they've got a great value proposition. I think that's the right word to use. But you need to go in with your eyes open. Like this itinerary I'm doing on the 16th. I love the fact we're overnighting in Ocean Key. I love that island. And it goes back to my history. Back when I started in the travel business, I worked for an airline, and we actually flew the miners in and out of there when it was I can't use that word on their podcast, but it was a blank hole. It was an industrial wasteland. And
it was a trash dump.
Well, I'd say something else, but I had messaged one of my friends who's actually daughters of Neil Watson, the famous diver in Bimini. I'm friends with the Watson family. And I said, hey, I think I'm coming to Bimini on MSC. Should we come and say hi? And she's like, well, they don't allow our boats down there. I'm like, oh, that's a shame. And I'm walking around Ocean Key and I'm texting her and I'm like, hey, whatever happened to that little island that we flew to? And she's like, you're on it. I'm like, what? Like, this used to be Salt Key. But I think overnighting in port is amazing. And I know that Princess does some of that in the Mediterranean as well as Asia. And it's just nicer, to not feel rushed. And I think that's one of the challenges we have selling cruises, especially to Alaska, is as much as I love Norwegian, their port times suck. You're in Juneau for 6 hours or Ketchikan for 4, and you got to do that stupid shuttle back and forth out of Ward Cove and even in Sitka. So, and I think it all comes back to expectations. I think MSC is a great mid-level product. If you have money, Yacht Club is phenomenal. It's even better than Haven. I've had guests who have been on Seabourn and Viking, and they were very pleased with Yacht Club. Whereas I've had other people who book interior cabins and they get balconies, and it's a pleasant surprise. So in terms of our MSC deals, I'm going to try to keep those current and updated on our website for both solos and regular. We are seeing a lot of discounting, or I guess I should say more affordability than before, because MSC, again, they limit how many solos can be on the ship. And so if you go and search, you're not going to probably see the same deals we do. We have a way to, to view them different in our system. But once MSC hits that target, there's no changing it. And so that's when I tell people, well, we can book you, a fake name in the cabin. And you're okay with that. But that's pretty much any cruise line right now. But in terms of solos, we've got I've got my Norwegian Epic sailing. I'll be on there on the 17th of October out of Rome. Looking forward to that. I get to go to Cannes and Ibiza, and then booked a wine tour in Cartagena. Hopefully the weather should be good. And then you've got yours in November, I think.
I do. I got
the
doctor on the Epic in November, and then in March 31st, I do the transatlantic on the Epic back to Rome.
Oh, okay. And then, I can't plan that far. I can't plan that far in advance. Everyone's like, "Hey, Nate, you're a travel agent. How can we trust you to do our trips and you can't even do yours?" I just, if I see a good deal, I go.
Yeah. Well, I prefer doing it that way. I'm not usually booked months in advance like I am now, but that's just happened that way. But one thing that I do have to point out about MSC that we touched on and then skipped by it. The specialty restaurants on MSC, especially like the steakhouse, is as good, if not better, than any of the specialty restaurants.
But Yeah, Butcher's Cut was amazing. I would put Butcher's Cut up with
all specialty restaurants is Butcher's Cut.
Well, I would put them on par with the Lawn Club on Celebrity. It's really, they do good cuts of meat. I like the presentation. The prices aren't bad. But my problem with Butcher's Cut is when they dangle out that carrot for the afternoon brunch and lunch, is they have this amazing little menu that looks affordable. Hey, 15, 20 bucks. But yet they won't ever tell you when it's open. That is my issue with MSC is some of it just little stuff that Americans, like to plan and know. Whereas with MSC, a lot of times it's very Italian. And, some of this stuff just isn't very well thought out. Again, beautiful ships, great personnel. I like the drink packages. I like the flexibility with it. Even one cruise, I never did the drink package. I came on board, went straight to one bar, found a bartender, gave him $20, and next thing I know, taken care of quite a bit. But in terms of the dining, I think that is a challenge with MSC. It is a European flair. They do have very nice restaurants. Butcher's Cut's amazing. I love all tacos. The Pierre, what's the chocolatier is amazing. I'm a fat boy, so I love chocolate. Not gonna can't avoid that one. But yeah, the one disappointment with the Butcher's Cut though is their afternoon lunch is they never really tell you when it's open, and it's not open enough. But their brunch is fantastic if you get a chance to do it. And then Yacht Club, I've had people say Yacht Club is so much better than a Haven restaurant, whereas Haven on Norwegian, there's a little bit. Yeah, I understand restrictions, but they try to make it like Cagney's Plus, and it's not bad, but problem with Haven is the restaurant's not big enough for everybody. So I actually found myself doing more room service with the Haven than anything. And the fact my friends couldn't come in, they were really strict about that. And I get protecting the product, but a couple of my friends came in, they had to pay like $50, I think, for dinner. And like I said, the food was good. And like with Norwegian, I do love the fact Epic still has Moderno. So that's my first specialty meal when I get back on that ship, because they're replacing that with a different steakhouse, I think, on the other ships, I'm told. And I get it. Moderno's expensive. You get this Brazilian meat flown by you. It's a buffet essentially. And it's
kinds of meat. And you can't walk out of there and not be stuffed. I mean, stuffed.
Chillie, I need a wheelchair to get out of there sometimes. I get into a food coma. Between the restaurant with the buffet, or not the buffet, but the salad bar, and then they keep coming around with the different kinds of meats and stuff. It's definitely a great churrasco restaurant.
And that's probably one of the best salad bars that I found at sea is in Moderna.
Oh yeah, I cried when I found out these weren't on Prima and Viva and Aqua and the others. I'm like, what the hell? This is our favorite.
So, well, I do like the MSC, and of course I do a lot of Norwegian because despite the fact that they don't give us the solo deals, they at least have the studios now, and they've expanded that.
Yep.
The other thing, the only really fault I find with MSC, and I'm constantly working with them on this, is the doors for handicap, whether it's public restrooms. There's they have a tendency to be heavy and not automatic. They haven't gotten to the point of making push buttons where they need to be push buttons. Now, like rooms, the handicap accessible rooms have been awesome. They're huge. They're push button in and out. Sometimes the bathroom doors push button inside. They're terrific. Once you're in the wheelchair accessible rooms. But some of the public restrooms are tough. They they do a really good job with embarkation and debarkation for handicapped travelers or disabled travelers. They kind of just escort us right to the front of the line, and then you're on the ship and done. No waiting in line, no standing in line. And anybody that's disabled, you know how much of a benefit that is.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and like I said, every cruise, and I do want to say the thing I wish Norwegian and MSC would fix those disembarkation. I don't know why it is. Those two cruise lines, it is such a mess. Yet I'm on Princess and Hot American Celebrity, and I don't have to wait in line. I don't have to be wrapped around the ship. And I don't know why MSC and Norwegian haven't figured that part out. Every time I leave a ship, both cruise lines, I have to stand in this really long line. And yet Princess, no problem, even though it's a 4,000 passenger ship.
The benefit by being in a wheelchair. I mean, there's not often that you can say it's a benefit to be in a wheelchair. But that's one area it is, because it's just, you're through. Come on, and they lead you right through. So, I wish now I could get used to using a manual wheelchair. And that my house is not. It was built in 1903. It's not built for, my electric wheelchair. It won't fit anywhere. So I got a manual chair. Old manual chair that my big fat butt just barely fits in. But the problem is when I'm and the floors in this house go up and down. So I'm either struggling going uphill or rolling fast down the hill. I mean, obviously it's not big hills, but it's 125-year-old floors. So my latest things is I'm banging hands when I'm on my wheels and trying to get through doorways. I'll catch a knuckle here and a knuckle there. Finally, after the third finger in the last 2 days, I picked up the damn computer and got on Amazon and bought a pair of wheelchair gloves.
Oh, wow.
So they've been shipped, so I'll probably have them in a day or two, because I've got 3 knuckles now that I've knocked the skin off of.
Oh, so, no.
Trying to recover from pneumonia, and I'm bleeding to death. So, can't win. All right, Mr. Nate. As always, I so appreciate your time and the chance to talk about MSC, somebody that we both like, better than we dislike, that's for sure. And we'd sure like to get some more people out there interested in sailing with MSC. All you got to do is call us.
Yep.
You can text us. You can email us. You can send smoke signals. Nate and I, one or the other, will pick up the smoke signal and we'll call you back. Honest. Oh, yeah. And down there at the bottom, you see our website scrolling through.
Yep.
So all you got to do is get on there and see what you can find out and want to do, and we'll hook you right up. Love to.
I think between Chille and I, we've been on pretty much almost every MSC ship except for World Europa. I think I haven't been on that one yet, but I have seen some good pricing.
Yeah, and it's pricey when it first gets here, and then the USA ship, America. I don't know if we're going to call it America, the Italian pronunciation, or America. Probably the arrogant American call it World America. It comes 26 also, and it's going to be a fabulous ship. But boy, it's expensive for the first year that it's out there. I mean,
every ship is like that.
I did Seascape on its inaugural cruise, and that's the most expensive cruise I've purchased for myself. But I was glad to do it. It was good for me at the time to do an inaugural cruise and to meet a lot of the folks in my space, the bloggers and vloggers and news guys. Okay. So, all right, Mr. Nate, thank you very much. I got to get on with the news, guys, and I'll be back, folks, with some news after a quick break from one of our network sponsors. All right, and always my thanks to Nate Vallier of Alaska Travel Desk for his time and his thoughts and his knowledge. All right, let's get started. This is Tropical Cyclone 6, which will become Tropical Storm Francine later today. The system is forecast to become a tropical storm as it moves near the Gulf of Mexico coast. Tropical storm watches are in effect for northeastern Mexico and extreme southern Texas. The system is forecast to become a hurricane before it reaches the northwestern Gulf Coast by the middle of the week. While it is too soon to pinpoint the exact location and magnitude of impacts, the potential for life-threatening storm surge, damaging winds are increasing for portions of Louisiana and upper Texas coastlines beginning tomorrow night. Hurricane and storm surge watches will likely be issued for a portion of that area later today, and residents should ensure that they have their hurricane plan in place. Potential Tropical Cyclone 6, which will become Francine, is expected to bring heavy rainfall and a risk of considerable flash flooding along the coast of far northeastern Mexico, portions of southernmost Texas, southern Louisiana, and southern Mississippi into Thursday morning. A risk of flash and urban flooding exists across portions of the Mid-South from Wednesday into Friday morning. In addition to Tropical Cyclone 6, we have two other systems to watch. An area of low pressure is producing disorganized showers and thunderstorms over the central tropical Atlantic. Environmental conditions are marginally conducive for development during the next few days as it meanders over the central tropical Atlantic. By the middle of the week, the system is forecast to move west-northwestward at around 10 miles an hour. The formation over the next 48 hours is 60%. Over the next 7 days is 60%. And in the eastern and central tropical Atlantic, a trough of low pressure located several hundred miles west-southwest of the Cabo Verde Islands is producing a broad area of disorganized showers and thunderstorms. In a couple of days, this trough is expected to interact with an approaching tropical wave. Afterwards, environmental conditions appear favorable for a gradual development of the system, and a tropical depression could form during the middle to latter part of the week while the system moves west-northwestern at 10 to 15 miles an hour. About 0% over the next 48 hours, but then it jumps up to 60% over the next 7 days. So there's two systems we got to keep our eye on. And while we've been doing the first part of the show today, folks, it's now official. 6 is now Tropical Storm Francine, heading toward Hurricane Francine and the upper Gulf Coast in all probability. Cruisers should keep in mind that this is purely speculation, not news, and no announcements have been made. For a cruise port, being the home port for the world's largest cruise ship is a fairly big deal. It shows not only that the port can handle such a large vessel, but it also makes for great branding in a heated competition along U.S. cruise ports. Recent discoveries on the Port of Galveston website have driven speculation about Icon of the Seas having a potential home in Texas. According to some reports, the website may have inadvertently put Icon of the Seas in a drop-down menu for parking reservations. A screenshot by Chrome.com showed the words RCCL Icon of the Seas under the Select Your Ship heading. The link for the drop-down menu didn't have a destination, so perhaps it was an accident, but recent comments by Port Director and CEO Roger Reese have only fueled the speculation when he said earlier that we can handle it, referring to Icon. Royal Caribbean has not given any new information about the ship moving to Galveston, and the website has removed the ship from the drop-down menu as of this morning. So please, folks, this isn't news. This is pure speculation. Interesting that they possibly want to move the ship to Galveston. Cruisers asked, and Carnival answered. As brand ambassador John Heald can attest, there have been lots of requests for a multi-device Wi-Fi plan, which can be of particular value to professionals working from sea or families sailing together. Yesterday, Heald took to his public Facebook page to announce that the premium multi-device plan was officially available to book in advance, future sailings on Carnival Cruise Line. While Carnival's previous internet plans had a set price per person per day, depending on the quality of the Wi-Fi they selected, they only allowed guests to use one device. The new multi-device premium Wi-Fi plan allows for the use of up to 4 devices per package and can be shared with other guests in the same family or travel party. The premium option comes after Carnival completed its rollout of Starlink connectivity earlier this year, and it's likely that access to faster and better internet is allowing the cruise line to further enhance the Wi-Fi experience on board. The service uses satellites in space operated by SpaceX to provide high-speed Wi-Fi during cruises, revolutionizing the speed and quality of internet at sea, which has been notoriously slow in the past. The premium plan starts at $75 per day. Oy. The premium Wi-Fi plan, which was the previous top option, costs $21.25 per day when booked in advance. It allows for access to everything offered by the social and value plans at speeds up to 3 times faster and throws in streaming capabilities. What is confusing about this story, can you still get the old premium Wi-Fi plan, or has that changed exclusively to the new premium plan at $75 per day? All right, so I'm going to take a break in the news this morning and go on to some of the featured things. Then we'll come back and finish up with the rest of the news stories. A couple things I wanted to share with you. One, my friend Sylvia, she's also she's before me actually, was a brand ambassador for Will Power Chairs and Scoot Around. And she and I are the 2 international brand ambassadors for Will Power Chair. But she is on the cover of Travel Without Limits magazine this month. And I think that's just awesome on her story about Seattle. So congratulations to Sylvia for that. Our friend Rochelle is not on a cruise. She's actually in Vegas. That's unusual for her. So good luck while you're in Vegas, Rochelle. Let's see. This is Paul and Carol on the Oosterdam. Of course, that's Paul with a couple of the crew members. And that's Carol. You guys might recognize them. They've been on the show recently. And this is from Alex Robertson yesterday in Galveston. That's Harmony of the Seas sailing from Galveston. So now let's see. What have we got here? Also this weekend, it was Katie's sister's 80th birthday. So a happy birthday to Katie's sister. And that's Katie and her sister and our buddy Johnny Quinlan. So he's, of course, a cousin to Katie. So he was at the birthday celebration. All right, so now we got to back up with Hot Air Tom to when he and Kenneth left the hotel and made their way to the Norwegian gym. And they walked. They were close enough to walk. And there had been some posts on one of the groups that we're in on a squirrel. And I guess Hot Air Tom didn't want to show another picture of the squirrel. So there's a stag. And there's also, I don't know, an eagle or whatever in the same collection. So that was pretty cool. And then this was their first look at the gym. All right, so they got on and they immediately gave them key card access to the suite. So I guess there was no waiting on that, and they could eat lunch in the suite dining room or something. I'm not even sure about all that. But anyway, this is the room. Now take a look at the size, folks. Now remember, I was supposed to be there with a wheelchair. Well, obviously that gives me plenty of room for maneuvering and getting back and forth. This is the restroom, which it is a roll-in shower. There's a seat there, stool there, which makes it perfect. a handheld shower. The heights of the sink look like they're just perfect for a chair. Looks to me like a huge balcony. And then Kenneth and Tom were talking about where we would have set up working. And Hot Air said, well, it looks like Chille would be working here where he normally works. And that's probably true. I would have preferred that. While in the meantime, Hot Air would be sitting up over here on a little movable desk and looking out at the doors. Well, that would be fine too. And then Kenneth says, well, if we're all three ever here, I'll just pull the bed down and I'll sleep up there. So that's the extra bed that's in that suite. So unfortunately, I'm not going to be there on the cruises. All right. So, and I'm not entirely sure. Excuse me. I didn't get to the mute button before I coughed. That's my bad. I know the first port of call was up in Bar Harbor, Maine, and Hot Air had two excursions in Bar Harbor. He went to, I think he went on some kind of a boat tour for this, and got to the fort there. They had several stops along the way, and afterwards he went to an art show, or maybe it was during the tour, there was some artists at work and have shown some of their stuff, and that obviously is a turtle very similar to Tina Turtle behind me here, and a couple of rather ferocious looking friendly sharks. So I really appreciated that. Let's see, what else do we have here? Is that more from the cabin? Oh no, we did that. We did that. Why do I have that in there twice? I don't know. All right, so I can't see for sure what, this is the next day. So I missed out on, maybe this was that morning. Anyway, that's Kenneth at breakfast. So it was probably before that first excursion. I got the order mixed up here. Hot Air had Eggs Benedict in my honor. And then they got to Peggy's Cove, and Hot Air went to Peggy's Cove, and he shared some clips that are pretty cool and some pictures from Peggy's Cove. That's, of course, been one of the famous places. This was on their way to Peggy's Cove.
Yeah, there are some reasons for that. First of all, the soil layer here is very thin. So on much of the island, just take a look at the rock cuts. The soil layer in much of the island is anywhere from 2 to 12 inches. So even the biggest trees you see here may have root systems that only go down a foot. Secondly, we are on an island. This is Mount Desert Island, and we get some fairly fierce winter storms. This last winter, we had 5 of them. Did major damage to the island. So that takes out the weaker vegetation, and this winter took out some of the stronger vegetation. So it's left as slow growing, but very hardy. So we're going to give you a nice view back toward Bar Harbor. Walter, let's just stay in the right lane here. Just slow down a bit so we can take a look back toward town. There's usually a lot more lobster boats at their moorings, so they must be all out working. There's a very nice ship out there. Anybody know anything about that one? Could be. Actually, Jem is well known to us. She's been in, I think, probably 25 or 30 times this year already. Usually once a week. This week is twice a week. Yeah. For a long time, she had a route that went from Boston to Bermuda to Bar Harbor to back to Boston. So I don't know what your itinerary is now, but anyway. So she's well known to us. She knows what she's doing. Okay, so the park actually got its start back in 1901 when a group.
All right, let me take that off. The first clip was Acadia National Park. That was the first excursion that Hot Air Tom took. And there we go, take that off. That was the first clip. Then the guy blowing the horn, that was out at Peggy's Cove. And let's see what's next here. Here we go.
So here's the village side of Peggy's Cove. I just walked around the other side of the lighthouse and we're looking out at the water that is away from the viewing area we saw in the first video. At Peggy's Cove. We got some good active wave action coming up against the rocks. And I'm going to pan to the right. I'm standing right at the lighthouse. And coming into the view on the right is the restaurant where I had the lobster lunch. Got an observation platform there.
And that, of course, is the lighthouse at Peggy's Cove. Let's see if we got a picture of the lighthouse. I thought it was on one of the clips. All right, now I got to go back up here to catch up to where I was. There was breakfast. There we go. So Peggy's Cove. That's the guy blowing the horn. And there's the lighthouse. That's the iconic picture from that area. And then they stopped somewhere to eat. And there's Hot Air with his bib on. And his dinner, or lunch, or dinner, whatever it was. A little lobster. And the whole gang. That's the part I've missed the most about it. So, let's see. This was on Sydney, Nova Scotia, which doesn't look like a normal cruise terminal, but there's the pier up here alongside the boat. They're in Sydney today. He's doing an excursion today, and I don't remember what the excursion is. So, all right. So that catches up with all that. So we'll get back to the news portion of the show to wrap up the news for the day after a quick break. Cruise around the world with the Will Model C2. That's the chair that I use. Our chairs will easily fit through accessible cabin doors and can navigate those tight spaces and crowded places. To see if Will may be right for you, click on the link below to schedule a test drive. Just tell them to use code CHILLE for all your mobility needs. That's Some guests on board Norwegian Joy's upcoming sailing that embarks on November 30th may be feeling a little less joyful after some itinerary changes. The 15-night cruise, which embarks from Miami and sails one way to Los Angeles, was supposed to call on Acapulco and Mazatlan in the Mexican Riviera on December 9th and December 12th, respectively. However, NCL has announced that both of these ports of call will need to be skipped, although it's not clear why. There are no travel advisories currently in place for Mazatlan, although the U.S. currently has an advisory in place that forbids government employees from traveling to any area in the state of Guerrero, which includes Acapulco, Zihuatanejo, Tasco, Zatapa, due to crime rates. Additionally, the sailing will depart from Miami at 5 p.m. rather than 5:30 and will arrive in Los Angeles to disembark an hour late on December 15th. The first three ports of call in the itinerary to Cartagena, transit to Panama Canal, and Panama City will all take place as planned, and now come an extended overnight stay at Panama City lasting from 8 p.m. on December 4th until 8 p.m. the next evening. So you make up some time there, but you lose two ports. I'd be a little upset too. For Irene, who just turned 103 years old, a Carnival cruise was the perfect way for her to commemorate her birthday. The birthday girl and her family embarked on a 7-night cruise to Kings Wharf, Bermuda, on board Carnival Venezia. They sailed on August the 31st, which sailed round trip out of New York City. But while the family knew they were in for a week of fun, they likely weren't expecting how excited approximately 1,400 crew members on board the ship would be to celebrate with Irene, who quickly became cruise ship famous. Perhaps the most wholesome memory created by crew members was when Lee Mason, the current cruise director, and several of the senior officers surprised Irene with an elaborate chocolate cake while she was enjoying dinner with her family at the Marco Polo restaurant. John Heald asked his followers to send Irene their birthday wishes, and he received 4,000 responses. Happy 103rd, Irene. Make it 4,001. Fred.Olsen is tempting cruisers with an offer of free drinks on certain voyages in 2024 and 2025, including a holiday season vacation at sea to the Canary Islands. All three of the line ships are participating in the offer: Bolette, Borealis, and Balmoral, on 5 to 22-night itineraries that feature destinations from the Azores to the Mediterranean, the Norwegian Forge to the Scottish Highlands. The free drink package is valid on upward of 100 cruises made between now and October 31st, although at least 2 of the included cruises depart before that date. For the third time in 2 days, Carnival Cruise Line alerted book guests that their itineraries have been altered to varying degrees. The latest batch of altered routes and port times revealed on September the 5th impacts cruises with departure dates in 2025 and 2026 on the ships Mardi Gras, Carnival Freedom, and Carnival Spirit. Mardi Gras, based in Port Canaveral, cruises are affected by route changes. The ship's 7-night Eastern Caribbean cruises departing May 3rd and May 31st will have altered days and port times. The notice to guests does not indicate any specific information about the changes, just that there's going to be changes. A third Mardi Gras cruise departing February 14th, 2026, also a 7-night Eastern Caribbean sailing, calls at the same ports plus Celebration Key, Carnival Cruise Line's new private island destination. The new itinerary swaps Amber Cove and Grand Turk. 8 cruises operated by the Carnival Freedom, based at Port Canaveral, are impacted by itinerary alterations. The ship's May 5th, 2025 departure of a 5-day Eastern Caribbean sailing was to call at Grand Turk and Bimini. The new itinerary replaces Bimini with Amber Cove, and the time and port is adjusted. 4 voyages with departures on September 4th, September 27th, January 17th, 2026, and March 23rd, 2026, are affected by modification. The earliest sailing is a 4-day Bahamas cruise, while the others are 5-day Eastern Caribbean cruises. In all itineraries, the planned port of call of Half Moon Cay is replaced with Princess Cay. On the ship's December 1st, 2025 cruise, an 8-day Eastern Caribbean cruise, the new itinerary swaps the days of planned calls to Celebration Key and Nassau. Also, the port times in Nassau have been adjusted. And finally, on Carnival Freedom's January 3rd cruise to the Eastern Caribbean, the visits to Princess Cay and Nassau have been swapped. The January 12th, 2026 Eastern Caribbean cruise will now call at Princess Cay instead of Half Moon Cay, and the line has swapped the days. The ship will visit Nassau and Princess Keys. Wow. Carnival Spirit has one itinerary change on her November 30th, 2025 5-day Bahamas change from Mobile. The ship will no longer call on Bimini and will instead visit Nassau. Also, the date to call at Celebration Key is changed, and all port times were altered. If you're booked on any of these cruises, please contact your cruise provider for all the details. This is from a guest currently on the Norwegian Joy. Earlier this year, Norwegian Cruise Line ended the 3-bottle testing program with Macallan Scotch whiskey. But as of this week, they have just started a new event called Johnny Walker Master Blending Experience. Here, we sampled 4 varieties and then created our own blend using breakers and eyedroppers. Now, this was super fun and educational, plus we got a sample to take home. I'm on the Joy right now, so I was fortunate to be among the first fleet-wide to sample this. It's an 18-seat event. It's poorly promoted right now, but look for it in the daily freestyle, probably on a sea day, or contact the whiskey bar or head mixologist to sign up. Cost was $35 minus 20% if you have the drinks package. So pretty cool. Johnny Walker. Huh. I'm not a Scotch lover, but I might try that. Join us on a totally unique transatlantic cruise on Norwegian Epic. This cruise sails from New York on March 31st, arrives in Rome on April 15th. With stops in Bermuda, Punta Delgada, Lisbon, Barcelona, Cannes, Livorno, and Naples. What a fantastic cruise. Cabin start at $1,632 per person. All you have to do is call me, 434-258-9264, and we'll sail from New York to Rome on the Norwegian Epic. All right, folks, if you book that cruise today or tomorrow, an extra $100 off. So, just saying, call me, 434-258-9264, and we'll go to Rome. Be awesome. All right. That ends the news portion today. Let's quickly run through the chat room because I'm already over an hour, folks. And I try to never do that because you start losing audience in an hour. So anyway, I'm already over. So let's quickly run through it. Okalola, hello. Hello from Hot Air Tom and Kid and Ken and Sydney. Mike's with us. Gretchen's here. Glad you're feeling some improvement. Belated birthday greetings. Actually, today is my birthday. Yeah, Gretchen said that. There's Steve out in Kentucky. Good morning, Steve. Emily's with us. Good morning, Chille and gang. Happy birthday. Thank you. Take yourself out and get a bourbon. I have bourbon here. I'm still not going out, them. I haven't been out since I got back from the doctor's 2 weeks ago. I'm getting closer to going out. How is Sydney, Nova Scotia? I hope you're having a great time. Roger's with us from Jacksonville. Good morning, Roger. I have not heard the word Care Bears in so long. Well, you heard it today. Hot Air Tom says, well, it's sunny. I need to depart the ship at 12:30, our time for an excursion. That's 11:30 your time, so Hot Air is already gone. Sharing is caring, laugh out loud, Emily says. Ben and David trashed the Norwegian Bliss on the video they dropped yesterday. Well, they do that at times, and I don't necessarily agree with them. What's your excursion, Tom? Sydney pub tour. Wow, that would be right up my alley. Hot Air says, I don't drink that much, so might need a hand getting back on board. I'd like to see that. Hot Air says, Roger, what could be bad on the Bliss? I'm now booked on the Seaside at the end of February. Wish you'd called me on that, Em. I would have been happy to book it for you. Em says, should have picked the submarine sea view. No balconies on that boat. Remember voyage to the bottom. We don't want to talk about that, Hot Air Tom. Sounds like fun, Tom. Hot Air says, I have dementia. I saw this morning that the March 31st Epic Cruise has a bonus latitude point and called his PCC. He looked and said, we already have the bonus point. I forgot. I must have done that in the last reprice. Yeah, you did. Osabuku at La Cucina last night. Yum. I forgot to take a picture. I ate most of it. Well, that's okay. Worst non-condiment issue I've had was no cocktail sauce at one of the ship's venues, so I asked for horseradish and ketchup, which they did have, and made my own. Bliss was filthy, according to Ben and David, among other things, in need of a refreshing due in 2025. Yeah, it's going in for dry dock in January. Em says, are you kidding? No towel animals? Yeah, on some of the cruise lines, they don't do towel animals anymore. The Carnival is the only one I know that still does them, as a matter of fact. My impression of MSC from reading all the reviews and videos is that there's a lack of consistency between the newer ships and the older ones. I don't find that. I mean, I find it pretty consistent. The problems that I have with MSC seems to be on all the ships, and that's the doors, the public restrooms. Although they have wheelchair accessible restrooms, but the doors aren't wheelchair accessible. And the upper floor doors to the outside are all as heavy wooden doors. But what I've seen between the newer and older ships, the food's pretty consistent. Service has always been good. The staff is friendly. Yeah, you gotta be used to it being more European. You gotta get used to them announcing things in several languages, depending on the makeup of the ship. Food's a little different, but it's not bad. It's just a little different. NCL needs to make those cruises out of Seattle 9 days instead of 7. Joy doing 9-day itineraries has much better port times. From Chille's videos and Warm Strong Adventure videos, MSC looks like they are nice ships. I have other videos as well. Robin says, happy birthday. Thank you, Robin. The 7-day cruise just try to do too much in limited time available. There's Todd. Good morning, Todd. Hot Air says he let Ken know that you're here, Robin. I need to depart. Guess I'll catch up with the news later. All right, Hot Air Tom, have a good time. You've already gone by now. Oh, there's Martine. Hi, Martine. She says, happy birthday, Chille. I haven't seen you since, wow. We've cruised twice together, and I haven't seen you in about close to a year now. That's awful. Love your stories that you tell about friends, and we know I thank you very much. Welcome aboard the Chille Show. I think Martine's probably been here before. Hot Air Tom had better weather than me. The couple times that I've been to Peggy's Cove in the past, it was weather like Hot Air Tom. It's just not bad, but not really good. I've never been there when it was sunny and bright. Wind, not wine. We had wind. Oh, yeah. Okay. Rain and cold and wine. I see what you said. It was supposed to be wind. I see it was very rough on the cove. It was quite foggy. Yeah. Great show. So much information. Nate tells it like it is. There's Gary Older than Dirt. Hey, Gary. Thousands pardons to the bliss. It was the Norwegian epic. Okay, that's a little different. Epic. Well, I disagree. I was just on the epic, and I didn't notice anything particularly bad. I liked the epic. It's just a different perspective, I guess. Roger says, happy birthday. Thank you. There's PK Adventure Travels. Hello, how are you feeling, Chille? A lot better, and happy birthday. Thank you very much. And Emily says, PK, what's up? All right, guys, that's going to wrap me up for today. I'm way over an hour, and I don't like to do that. So that's going to do it for today. As always, stay safe, stay healthy, think about cruising. And hopefully one day soon we'll all get together on the high seas. Have a great day, everybody. And I'll see you back here, same time, same channel, tomorrow morning.
I regularly post videos on all facets of the travel and cruise industry. So if you like to keep up with the latest in cruise ships, ports of call, cruises themselves, Chille Chats, and travel and cruise industry news, just hit the little subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner, hit the bell notification so you'll be notified when a new video is up or we go live. This video was produced by Chille's Cruises.